For 2025, Nissan has refreshed the Frontier, and this one right here is of course the Pro-4X. The thing about this though is it still feels like an old dinosaur. What I mean by that, it will still have a big old V6 under the hood. When you're driving the truck, you have very heavy steering, which I love, and the buttons on the interior also look like they came from the 90s. So what we're going to do in this video is have a look at this design, what's changed. They restyled the front end for 2025. We're going to have a look at the front, side, rear, the interior, and then of course we're going to take this for a drive. Now before we check out the design, let's have a look at what's hiding under the hood of this 2025 Nissan Frontier Pro-4X in Afterburn orange, and this is definitely the color you want for this truck. I think it looks fantastic. So we have a 3.8 liter naturally aspirated V6. Very unusual to see that in 2025. You have 310 horsepower, 281 pound-feet of torque connected to a 9-speed automatic. You got 4-wheel drive, of course, both 4-wheel high, 4-wheel low, and 2-wheel drive. 0 to 60 takes about 7.6 seconds. Now, since we have this big 3.8 liter V6, the fuel economy is not going to be the best. So you have 16 city, 20 highway, and the price for this one is $48,400. The payload comes in at 1,200 pounds and max towing at 7,150 pounds. In this case, we do have the Pro-4X, meaning that it comes with 8.6 inches of ground clearance for those off-road trails. You have the beautiful 17-inch wheels as well. So with that said, let's close this back down and let's talk about this beautiful design, because I think this looks great, specifically in this Afterburn orange. Now, some of the changes that happened here for 2025 is how you can see that this is specifically a 2025 is if you look at the black graphics here that we have in the front end, you can see that this now extends all the way down to the very bottom of the front. What we did have for the 2024 model years is that we did have a piece of body color that went right here underneath the grille and sort of separated the top half and the lower half section. Now everything is just waterfalling down in the front. I do think this looks good. I also liked the old design for this, and I also like the chiseledness that we have. For example, look up top here on the hood, all these beautiful lines coming from the A-pillar, and then we have this dip and sort of this shelf in the middle looking very cool. And this is a throwback to older Nissan models where you had the openings here for the cooling, but now these are just styling features with these silver pieces up top, looking very, very nice. We also have chiseledness going on around the headlights. You can see we have this beautiful chamfer here, another chamfer going in here. Wish this piece was open. We have the LED fog lights down low, full LED headlights for the Pro-4X. Of course, you can still get this with the old halogen headlights, but I think if you want to have it look modern, you want to go with these, where you have the daytime lights being this light up here and also this light at the bottom, looking very Ram-ish to me. It looks like the pre-facelift of the previous generation Ram 1500s. All the way down low, we do have the orange tow hooks, of course, and a proper skid plate right here for the Pro-4X in steel. That is exactly what we want to see for an off-road truck. Everything here is open, everything in the grille completely open here, also open down low. You do have the big Nissan logo in the middle with the front mounted camera right here. We do have 360 view for this specific vehicle, very nice. And coming around to the side view here in the sunshine with the Afterburn orange again, looking super nice. I just love this color. It really pops in the sunshine. In this case, for the Pro-4X with the 8.6 inches of ground clearance, we do have the Hankook Dyna Pro all-terrain tires with the beadlock styling. These are not beadlock capable, but it looks like it with the styling here. 17-inch wheels, huge fan of these wheels, although I personally would probably add some beefier wheels onto this just to have it sit a little nicer than this, even though this is nothing wrong with the stock option here as well. I do wish we had some rock sliders down low, because as you can see, the bodywork goes all the way down here, and it doesn't feel like it's protected enough, in my opinion, if you really want to go and take this off-road. This is definitely going to take some hits and get some damage on the lower section here. So I would probably add a rock slider onto this truck. Side mirrors, as you can see, in body color, in addition to the camera located right here for the 360 view. The overall proportions of this truck, I really like it. It looks like a proper mid-sized truck. If you were to sketch this up, all you got to do is just use the 3-box technique. So you have 1 box for the front end, 2nd box right here, and the 3rd box, of course, being the bed. Now, coming around to the rear end, and this is one reason why I definitely think that you should have the option this any Frontier with the LED headlights, is because even though you go for the halogen headlights in the front, you're still going to get LEDs right here in the back. So it would just make sense to have them both in the front and in the back. You can see similar styling to what we have in the front end. LED indicator as well, looking beautiful. Overall, I like the design of these taillights. They look very crisp and very fresh, chiseled design with the Pro-4X logo here on the side as well. New for 2025 is that this is now blacked out. You have this black bar like we have on the Nissan Titan. I do believe have a similar styling for the Pro-4X. Big, beautiful Nissan logo in the middle with the rear mounted camera right here. All the way down low, you do have some new connections here right next to the license plate, in addition to a couple of LED lights right there. You have the parking sensors integrated in the bumper here. I forgot to mention, if we go in and check out the parking sensors in the front end and the location for them, they're actually not located anywhere here. You can't really see them in the front, but if you go down, you can see that the parking sensors actually located on the lower section here, which I think is great, because if you take this off-road, it's gonna notify you if you're about to hit a big boulder or something like that. So with that said, let's fold this down and check out the bed space that we have back here. Now this is damped, it's not power assisted. Totally fine. I like to use manually, just fold it back up and down. I don't understand these power assisted tailgates. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's just slower operating than just manually up and down. So I'm glad we still have that here. You have some cup holders here, so you can have your picnic, or when you go camping, you can just leave your cups in here. You have a house outlet, I do believe, right there, in addition to some tie downs and a rail here to tie down whatever you need, in addition to a couple of LEDs on both sides. And this specific Pro-4X also comes with a spray-in bed liner, which has a nice texture and very grippy surface to it. So let's fold this back up and let's go in and check out the interior, because there are a couple of new things. I think the biggest change that actually happened in the interior, so let's go and check that out. Now, the reason why I'm a huge fan of this Pro-4X is that this is the only one in this segment that still has the big V6. Everyone else has gone to turbocharged 4 cylinders. Now, looking at the interior here, the biggest change you're going to see for 2025 is, of course, the 12.3-inch infotainment screen that is beautifully integrated. Look at the integration of that. We're going to talk more about that in a minute and compare that, for example, to the 14-inch TV that we have in the Tacoma. Now, first of all, looking at the door panel here, you have leather wrapped where you're going to have your elbow, and the door handle feels pretty high quality as well, in addition to these buttons right here. And this is what I mentioned in the intro. The buttons themselves, they feel like, the design feel like they're very old school, and they're anything fancy with this truck. And I think we need more trucks like this that is just pure functionality with an old school vibe to it, like we have in here. You have Fender speaker sound system right here, a couple of cup holders down here, and some storage, in addition to the seats, of course, being power assisted. I don't really care for this. If I could choose, I would want to have the seat be manually adjusted for this specific Pro-4X. And we have the seats themselves specific for the Pro-4X. You can see that we have the name embroidered into the backrest here, looking beautiful. I love when car companies does this, just to make them feel a little bit more special. Very comfortable, pretty flat seats though. They do not have a lot of bolstering, as you can see on the sides here. Very flat seats, and you also sit very high up in this truck. We're going to talk more about that when we take this for a drive in just a minute. Pro-4X floor mats at the bottom, and this is another reason why this feels old school. You can see the handbrake is right here, so it is operated with your foot, and I love to see that. So let's jump in here and let's fire this up. Let's talk a little bit more about this interior. You have a start button, beautiful. Let's turn the steering wheel straight, and you can see that we have an analog cluster here. Also something that I think a lot of the car companies I want to see more companies still have analog clusters. You still have the center portion being digital, and you can customize this as you like. So you can have a bunch of different settings here, auxiliary gauges, you have information, driving information, fuel economy, the audio and navigation, and as you can see, you can just put it into whatever you like here. I love this setup because it looks beautiful to me to have the analog clusters in addition to this housing for the overall gauge cluster. And some people might say that this, compared to the competition, this feels too old school and it doesn't keep up with the competition. But I actually think that this is a benefit for the Frontier to still have these old school vibes in the interior. Now, this is the big news for 2025. Is the new infotainment screen here. 12.3 inches, you have wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, and the integration of this screen is what I am so happy to see here. You can see that it sits very nicely inside of the dash. It doesn't stick up like this. It feels like this is actually a part of the overall interior, and we can just turn it around a little bit so you can see it better. Inside here, it's a very simple system. I obviously always use Apple CarPlay when I drive this truck. And we have the audio settings here. You can go back and check out the native map. You can also customize this section here by going into the main menu here, and then you go into settings and customize menus, customize split screen. We can have whatever we want on the right side there. So you have the main screen here and then a separated split screen on this side. I like to keep it in, I don't know, we can have it on the analog clock. That looks very nice and very classy, so let's keep it at that. But very simple layout here. Connections, map, audio, info, and settings. So that's pretty much all you get for this infotainment screen, which is totally fine for me. As I said, you're always going to have your phone connected anyway. Now, here we have the shortcut buttons for the infotainment screens up here. You also have a shortcut button for the camera, so we can pop that up. You can see the 360 camera right here. Very grainy situation for the camera here. It's not a very high resolution camera, but again, it's just, I don't really care because I'm still gonna see all the major obstacles around me from this 360 top view and also the reverse camera right there. Love that we have Frontier stamped out here in this orange, looking very nice. Volume knob is also physical. You have the hazard button right there. Further down low, we have these buttons. This is what I'm talking about when I say that it looks like 90s styling. I mean, have a look at this. How you go from four-wheel drive to two-wheel drive is just the design of this. It looks definitely like it came from the 90s, and I love that feeling. It's a functional design. You don't need to change things that are working great just to make them look, more modern. To me, it just doesn't make sense, and I love that they kept an old styling for this. You have the heated seat here in high and low, also old school style for this. Heated steering wheel and the parking assist on and off, in addition to, of course, this beautiful area right here with the climate settings, a rugged dial for the temp control, fan speed up and down, two simple buttons, exactly like I want to see. It's not complicated. And that is the thing. I think a lot of car companies are just trying to reinvent the wheel when it's not necessary to do that. You also have two USBs down here, one USB-C, one USB regular, and the heated seats for the passenger. All the way down here, you have some storage. This is not where the wireless charging pad is. That is further back. You have some grab handles here as well, in addition to a cigarette outlet. Now, this is also old school feel. The gear selector feels pretty 90s to me. Putting it into reverse again, gonna pop up the reverse camera, and you can switch manually with the gear here if you're just going into drive, and then just move this up for upshifts and down for downshifts. A couple of cup holders here. Key looks very basic as well. Nothing special about this key. You have the Nissan logo up top, and you also have the remote start, the lock, unlock, and panic button, and that is pretty much it for the key. This is where the wireless charging is. I like the situation here, the location for it. Rubberized, it's not gonna slide anywhere, and the good news here is I have a big fat case on my phone, and this still charges my phone no problem. The armrest is pretty small. Open this up, you can see that we have a lot of storage here, very deep storage, but no connections or no LED in there. We already talked about the seats. Love the seats. Standard size sunroof up top, totally fine for me. I would much rather have it with no sunroof, as I'm sure you know already. Moving on to the steering wheel. Again, I mean, just look at the styling of the steering wheel. This looks like a 90s Nissan, or at least an early 2000s Nissan for me. We have the buttons here to control the volume and the screen right there in the middle. You can see you use these arrows on the side. You also have the voice command located on the left side. On the right side is all about the cruise control settings. Big, beefy stalks for the windshield wipers on the right side, and the indicator and light settings right here on the left side. In addition to that, we have a couple of more buttons all the way down here. Cargo lamp, hill descent control, traction control on and off, and locking rear diff. So pretty much everything you need here in a very basic design, and that is, again, what I love about this truck. Proper size glove box there as well. So with that said, this being a mid-size truck, and I'm being 6'1", 6'2", something like that. I never really know. I'm 188 centimeters tall in European measurements. So let's jump back and let's have a look at if I can actually fit behind my own driving position in the 2025 Frontier. So overview of the rear passenger seats look pretty tight back here, if I'm honest with you. Love the seat design still though. Nice texture to them, nice styling. Everything is blacked out on the door panel. Still have a chrome door handle. I want to have this be black as well. I don't understand why it's chrome. Also in the front door, a couple of cup holders back here, speaker. If we fold this up, you're gonna see that under here we actually have the subwoofer for the speaker system, and underneath that side you have a bin where you can store a lot of stuff. So let's jump in here and let's check out how much space we have in the back. So it's pretty cramped back here, if I'm honest. The headroom is totally fine, as you can see, since we do have a straight roof. We don't have this sloping sporty design here, but leg room, and I sit pretty much 90 degrees from my legs going up to my back, and it's not a very comfortable position to be in for a long time. But you do have a couple of USBs again here, and a 12-volt house outlet in the back. And if we fold down the center portion here, which is pretty weird because you don't have anything to grab here, you sort of have to push your fingers in here and then fold it down, but at least it's going to show you that we do have two cup holders. And last but not least, this is again old school manually open and closing rear window. That is totally fine for me as well. All right, guys, let's take the 2025 Nissan Frontier for a drive. And I love this truck for the reason that I've mentioned here in this video, is that it just feels old school. Even when you drive in it, it has this very heavy feel to the steering wheel, and you get a 3.8 liter V6, something that we don't have in the competition. Now, the big downside with that is, of course, going to be the fuel economy. 16 city, not great, and 20 highways, not great either. But if you're I mean, this is the only option if you're still looking for a naturally aspirated engine. And I do believe, since we don't have a lot of added hybrid turbos and stuff onto the attached to the engine, it's probably a pretty reliable piece of machinery under the hood. 0 to 60, who cares? It's a Frontier. But if you want to know, it's about 7.6 seconds or something like that. And it drives very nicely, even with the all-terrain tires on here. And stepping on it, it's not a fast truck whatsoever. We're going uphill now. And I said also earlier in the video, the seating position is probably something that I try to lower the seat, lower than what it is right now, but this is as low as it goes. And I feel like I'm sitting so high up. It's great visibility, but it feels like I'm sitting on top of the truck almost, and not inside of it, if that makes sense. Small detail that I think is probably a benefit if you're going off-road. You have a lot of visibility. I can see the entire hood in front of me, so I guess that's a benefit with sitting this high up. But looking at the new interior here, 12.3 inches gauge cluster, beautifully laid out. This is the integrations I want to see from pretty much every car company. If you're gonna have big screens like this, make it feel like it's welcomed in the interior, not just an afterthought that they slapped onto the dash. It just doesn't work for me. This though, this is great, specifically when you have it with the wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto that this comes equipped with. So again, it just feels like an old school truck. Love that we have the physical knobs and dials here for the climate settings, and also this knob or dial for the four-wheel high or four-wheel low. It just looks very, very old school, and I love that about this truck. So I think this is for a very specific type of buyer, because at this price range you can still get I think you could probably get a Tacoma TRD off-road at least for 43,000. I think this is priced at, or something like that, for the similar price like we have here. And that has of course the hybrid setup with the 4-cylinder, a lot better fuel economy, but it doesn't have this old school charm that I love that Nissan has kept in this Frontier. Now, cruising along here on this beautiful day, I can't believe it's 60 degrees. And what date it is? December 21st in Colorado. I was out playing tennis in t-shirts and shorts earlier today. I mean, it feels like a summer day today, but just cruising along here on these roads, super comfy drive, since you do have the off-road suspension here. So it's a little spongy, which is totally fine. It suits the character of this specific truck. And we're gonna get onto the highway here and see how it does, and the wind noise and road noise, if that is something that's bothersome. Usually for me it's not, but let's get onto the highway here and see what that's all about. I forgot to mention another reason why I love this truck is I don't think we have any sort of drive modes in here, and how refreshing is that? To me, what that says is that the Frontier knows what it is. It's a truck. It's a mid-sized truck with the Pro-4X package, a little bit more off-road than a regular Frontier. Do we need a sport button in here? No, because it's not a sporty vehicle whatsoever. Do we need an eco button in here? No, because it's not going to help, because we still have a 3.8 liter V6 under the hood. So an eco button wouldn't make sense either. So what you have is one single, gear selector here, no drive modes, buttons, or anything, and you have four-wheel drive, two-wheel drive, or four-wheel low. That's it. So it knows what it is. It's not trying to be something that it is not, and to me that is extremely refreshing to see in a 2025 model. I also love that it says Frontier stamped out here for the 2025 model. It just looks nice. It looks clean. Now, cruising along here on the highway, no problems whatsoever. Love the analog clusters in front of me, gauges. It's a little bit noisy maybe for some people, but as I said so many times before, it doesn't bother me one bit, specifically if we're sitting in a truck like this. I mean, it's not a luxury vehicle either. It is what it is, and that is something that's rare today, because every single car manufacturer out there, when they put out the new model, they want to be so good at everything that they're not great at one single thing. And that is what I think the Pro-4X, specifically, or the Frontier, does very well. If I were to buy a new truck today, I don't know. Honestly, I'm not sure if I would pick the Pro-4X, just because of the fuel. The fuel economy is sort of a kind of a big, because it's such a big difference to the competition that would maybe make me think twice about buying this. But for everything else, this is still a very probably a top 3 when it comes to mid-sized trucks for me personally. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.